All right, let me say a special welcome, a special greetings, a special invitation to all of you already here on this live feed here with me for November. Yes, we're already in November. November the 9th night of November 2024. And that is where yours truly is about to start another Saturday night live engagement with all of you out there already in the viewing and listening audience. And so I want to take time off to wish you guys a pleasant good evening, and whatever you're doing at this time, well, looking at the live feed or whatever you may be multitasking doing at this time, because I know some of you do multitask. A pleasant good evening to you. Let me say as well, good evening to all the younger set of people who are there with me tonight. I'm being told in the week when I make my rounds around the country, a number of young people, at least under 30 years of age, they meet me and they says, Lofty, we are listening, I am listening. And so, yes, thank you guys for listening. And I know you guys will make the necessary adjustment in terms of whatever you guys have to do for your country in terms of its upliftment and its development. So thank you very much, all the young people who are there with me tonight. Not forgetting the middle-aged and also the elderly folks, the seniors. You guys are always there, keeping me in your prayers. And just giving me what I need in terms of the encouragement to move on. Let me just say, for the 2 Saturdays I was not here with you guys, it was the quote-unquote independence season in Dominica, and I just felt like, those of you who do enjoy that time, let me just give you guys a free up, as it were, to enjoy what was there to be enjoyed. And so I am back with you for yet another Saturday Night Live indeed. The many of you who are already here, 90 plus persons already here, thank you very much indeed. In terms of just a synopsis of where we're going tonight with tonight's program, we're going to start with something light tonight, and we're going to look at, for those of you who are sports fans out there, be it women or men, or the young people, a situation happened with our friend from Antigua, that is Mr. Alzari Joseph, when they were playing this third one day against England. A very unfortunate situation happened there, and we just want to touch on that in terms of getting us off the ground, as it were, this evening. We will be touching as well a situation in terms of, I will be giving you guys an update as to where that appeal process is at this time. For those of you who have been following yours truly, for those of you who have been following things in Dominica, there was a case that a decision was handed upon by Mr. George Colin Williams. He handed down that decision in a tear gassing matter by the state / the police that happened sometime in December 2018. Where a number of us were gathered talking about things pertaining to our country, and the police, in their very ignorant fashion and manner, I must say, tear gassed the entire crowd. And so some of us took that matter to court, and it was ventilated upon at least for 2 days in June of this year. And in September, on September 6th, George Colin Williams handed down his decision, at least at the High Court level, and he basically sided with the police after having heard both sides of the argument, sided with the police to indicate that whatever force the police used back then, and that force, part of it was in the form of tear gas in the entire crowd and the immediate vicinity. He said that in his judgment that he agreed with the state that the force that they used was reasonable in the circumstances. And he went on to say, basically, in a nutshell, I'm not quoting him now, but in accordance with the Public Order Act in Dominica, that is section 1501 of our Constitution, which provides us the opportunity to gather without any interference or hindrance from the state or any other body. The judge basically said that we needed permission from the police to do such thing that we're doing, and he deemed it illegal, going by what the state said, that situation was illegal. After having reviewed his decision, our lawyer, Kara, she urged us that based on what she's reading or she read, then that matter should be taken further. And so that is where we are at this time. So we will be taking that matter to the appeals court, and if needs be, to the last court of redress, that is the CCG. But from our end, we felt that that judge did not do justice by the law, and so we have decided to take it on further. Yes, so that is just a brief update as to where that matter is at. Obviously, we took the matter to court, so the judge gave the police or the state side a win in that matter, and he said, or he ordered, that we, that is Arthur Mate, Mr. Daisy, and myself, three of us who took that matter to court, we have to pay or compensate the state in that regard as to what they will come up with in terms of a figure that they will come up with to suggest that is what it took so that they could defend themselves in court. We have not known that figure as yet. That figure is still unknown. But seeing that we're appealing the decision, that is, whatever it is that they had in their mind, then at least those amounts will be stayed, as it is said in legal circles for now, until the appeals process goes through and a decision is handed on thereafter. Okay? So I just wanted to punch that by you guys. Knowing fully well that we had an attorney in the name of Kara Shillingford, and we had to pay her. So it was not free, it was not pro bono thing. And I must say, thanks to Kara. Kara, I must say here on the record, is a very astute lawyer, a no-nonsense woman. She takes her job very, very seriously, especially where the people's rights are concerned in Dominica. And so on that note, I want to thank Kara for her sleepless nights, going through, whatever she has to go through to present and has presented. She's a fighter, and so are we. And so it's a fighting team, and yes, we will prevail in the end. Someone is saying here, no sound. Well, Judge Henry, you need to fix your device, because so far, I've only gotten that indication or that report from you. All right, so spread that up, and then please get back to the proceedings here. I see my friend Navia Newman from Grenada. You're locked in. Greetings to you, my friend, and all others locked in here at this time. Miss Newman, I have to touch on your country tonight, so you better keep it locked, yeah, as always. Yes, so in the first instance, just to be above board here, the bill that three of us have to meet, where the lawyer, our lawyer now is concerned, at least at the High Court level, is 8,000 EC dollars. So far, we have been making good on those payments to Kara, and we have also reached out to you guys out there. And trust me, I must commend you guys in terms of your efforts thus far. That bill is basically out of the way, based on, what I know. The second phase of that court matter, which is the appeals phase, that bill from our lawyer's end, it is in the region of 15,000 EC dollars. And so again, we seek your support in that department. Your contribution will go, your financial contribution, now to be precise, will go a very, very long way in that matter. Ways you can contribute to that worthy cause, please get in contact with yours truly or Arthur Mate, or the office of Cara and Associates, and they will tell you guys exactly how you guys, if you are so desired, to make those much needed contributions. Yes, but we are doing our best, and so we expect big things to come in terms of that decision and be overturned and in our favor at the end of the day. There are some persons already have pledged their support for contributing towards the appeals process, and so right there, right now, I want to thank you very much and ask more of you to come on board and read that process. Primarily, we would want those donations to go directly into the lawyers' coffers. So once you make contact with yours truly, I will give you, for those of you outside, there's this wire transfer information that you will get from me. For those of you in country, there's the facility available that those funds can go and should be going directly into the lawyer's office, and so it will be well tabulated there, and sometime in the future, for sure, you will be getting a report as to how much you guys pledged and where things are at in terms of the accounting part of it. Yes, but so far so good. We are moving on indeed. There's also, in terms of information for tonight, there's also a case where an MP, that is Mr. Assot Michael, allegedly was murdered by a 27-year-old young man in Antigua and Barbuda. We will be touching on that as well. I'll be telling you what I picked up thus far in terms of some facts relating to that matter. I must admit that the information that should have been forthcoming, read that matter in Antigua, it was not forthcoming in terms of the manner and matter that I really wanted. But if you know yours truly, I'm going to persevere. And so there are some things that I need to tell you tonight in terms of that. Mr. Assot Michael allegedly being murdered. He being a parliamentarian in Antigua at the time of his death. And so you could well imagine the shockwaves that sent, not just in Antigua and Barbuda, but throughout the region as well. And finally, to bring down the curtains on things, we'll come home to our own local politics, as it were, where we'll be giving you updates and much needed information as to what is going on here in Dominica as we speak, or what may be in the pipeline for us as a country. So folks, that in a nutshell, plus the Civic Vibes program tomorrow, is what you guys could be in tune for. And so I ask you to stay tuned as we are about to share much needed information tonight. Let us just start with this bit of information right here. Let's start with this. Let's start with this. Let's start with this. Sorry, my computer is giving me a little issue there in terms of its loading. 1 minute. People. Let's see if I can pull that up from another end here. I'm just trying to pull up that story that I want to start with here tonight, but the computer is very, very slow tonight. It's not okay. Right here. Okay, let's start with this. Folks, my apologies. Something is not happening tonight. It is happening, but happening very, very slowly, yeah? So just bear with me 1 minute here. All right, let me pump that audio up. Start here.
Welcome back. Let's bowl off with some cricket, shall we? Fast bowler Nazar.
All right, hold on. Let me just plan this here. All right, folks, let's start with this here. Let's start with this here.
Joseph has been suspended by Cricket West Indies for 2 matches following an on-field incident during Wednesday's third and final one-day international between the West Indies and England at the Kensington Oval in Barbados. A release from Cricket West Indies earlier this evening said the incident, which involved conduct falling short of its standards of professionalism, was reviewed in consultation with the coaching staff of the senior men's team. Meanwhile, prior to the Cricket West Indies press release, former West Indies opening batsman Phil Wallace was among those calling for action to be taken against Joseph for his behavior during the game.
With the series on the line?
Okay, folks, let us just start that from the top again, so that we can get the gist of what is happening here, and then we'll take it from here. Right? Let's go.
Welcome back. Let's bowl off with some cricket, shall we? Fast bowler Nazar Joseph has been suspended by Cricket West Indies for 2 matches following an on-field incident during Wednesday's third and final one-day international between the West Indies and England at the Kensington Oval in Barbados. A release from Cricket West Indies earlier this evening said the incident, which involved conduct falling short of its standards of professionalism, was reviewed in consultation with the coaching staff of the senior men's team. Meanwhile, prior to the Cricket West Indies press release, former West Indies opening batsman Phil Wallace was among those calling for action to be taken against Joseph for his behavior during the game.
With the series on the line, things got heated early for the West Indies in Barbados on Wednesday, as Alzarri Joseph walked off the field after the 4th over, leaving the West Indies a player short in the field for the 5th over, after disagreement with Captain Shea Hope over a field change. Things got heated quickly between Joseph and Hope, and during the same over, the Antiguan claimed the wicket of Jordan Cox for 1, and immediately walked back to the top of his mark without celebrating with his teammates. The confrontation resulted in coach Darren Sammy coming pitchside, and at one stage, players including Jamaican Brandon King trying to defuse the situation. Speaking to Talk Sports after the victory, Sammy called Joseph's behavior unacceptable.
Oh, well, we will be friends, but the behaviors like that is unacceptable on my cricket field. And the culture I'm trying to build, that's unacceptable. So, yeah, we definitely will have a chat about that.
Meanwhile, former West Indies opening batter Barbadian Philip Wallace, who was part of the Talk Sports coverage, gave his view on the situation.
And I hope that the management of this squad will sit down and talk to Alzarri Joseph very seriously about his responsibilities, first of all, as vice captain to West Indies cricket and to the West Indian public. It is not what we want to see on our field, and I think that he has disrespected the captain, and he's disrespected cricket and the good name of West Indies cricket, and he needs to learn from it, and I believe he should be reprimanded some way, somehow. If I was a manager, I would give him a stick hit and tell him, you go to Antigua and cool it.
Wallace says while the bowler has every right to question the decision of the captain, Joseph was wrong in how he dealt with it.
The captain has asked him to bowl to a field. If you don't like it as a bowler, complete the over, and then maybe ask to go off the field and speak to the bowling coach or the coach and say, look, I'm not happy with this. You can go to the captain directly. I thought, walking off the field, you left the field with team short by 1 person. And then he offset the entire rhythm within the squad. When he came back out, everybody was very edgy. You know, and then a few balls went through misfields and stuff like that, because here's the vice captain upset with the captain, and that should not be happening in West Indies cricket. It's not what we want to see from a vice captain, from a senior bowler.
Joseph would eventually finish with match figures of 2 for 45 from his 10 overs. Bernardo Brown for TVJ Sports.
All right, folks, that is where I want to start us off this evening in terms of the information tonight. It's sort of cricket is something, a sport that basically binds us or ties us together as one region. And I think the incident that took place with Mr. Joseph, that is Azari Joseph, that is, it was unfortunate, and whatever decision in terms of the two-match ban that Cricket West Indies, placed at his feet, that was justified. It is said that cricket, especially cricket, is supposed to be a gentleman's game. And even if you are not in agreement with a decision made by the captain, in that case Mr. Hope, at the time, then he should have, dealt with that in a much more amicable manner. I know sometimes as a fast bowler, the temperatures run very high to see that you're putting in the work, and your teammates, some of them, they are not holding your catches, they're not feeling the ball properly, and so as a result, you tend to go for more runs than is needed. And so, that situation can sort of enrage any bowler, and I've seen that before, not just of Al-Zari, but of other bowlers, other fast bowlers. But it is how you deal with situations like that. And a lot of comments, basically castigating Joseph for his response, which some of them were in order, some were not. Some persons were for him as well, like in every other scenario in life. But in a nutshell, I just believe that my comment now, I'm a sports fanatic, especially cricket. I think that the way he handled it, he should have handled it better. I mean to say, he walked up the pitch, he walked up the field, and for an entire over, he had to stay off, came back the other over, albeit he took a wicket. He ended up with 2 for 40 something, 2 for 45, I believe, at the end of the match. The West Indies ended up winning the tournament. They won the series, by the way. But based on his behavior then, much more could have been done in terms of just, as Mr. Fido said, just having a conversation with your captain first. I mean to say, a bowler sometimes is allowed to set his field, because a bowler knows what ball he's going to bowl, and he would want to set the field appropriately. But it is the captain, the on-field captain, that has the final say at the end of the day. So if you as a bowler, you're not pleased with the settings posed by the captain, then it is just reasonable in the scheme of things to go to the captain and have that kind of cordial discussion, or even take a 5, as it were, and go to the bowling coach or the manager of the team and try to sort it out, not in the eyes of the public with that kind of outburst. So on that note, I gave Mr. Joseph wrong for his deportment then, and just wish that he can do much better. I know a lot of persons are talking about that he needs some kind of counseling to deal with his anger and management of it, and all these comments are in order. But sometimes you have to take into consideration to the very pressurizing situation that some bowlers find themselves in, even some batsmen sometimes, the articulation and gesticulation and stuff, it is not in accordance with the spirit of the game. So I just thought of starting us out tonight with that little commentary, and to see how, the game of cricket can be made much more a game that sort of binds us together as a Caribbean unit than this, back and forth. We are already divided in so many ways. And so I think cricket, or the sporting activities in the region, should serve us much better than those things that divide us. And so I just wish Mr. Al-Zari well. If needs be, he have to seek some counseling, then it is what it is. Be a man and man up. Whatever it is, to sort of be be much more productive on the field of play, I would recommend that in that department. Yeah. But no hard feelings, Mr. Joseph. You're a senior bowler or seasoned bowler at that, and so I just think that you know, the way that you handle the matter. Well, he apologized, and you know, to the captain, to the team, to the fans. But you know, what is done is done. And so sometimes, although an apology was given, but it has already been registered in the minds and hearts of a number of people. And so I just wish the West Indies team now as a whole, moving forward, all the best in the future. Let me just see if I could get some of your comments here before I move on to the next topic on the suggestion here, on the item paper, which is the situation in Antigua and Barbuda. Marshall Lawrence right here. Bowlers usually have an input in field placing, but certainly he needs some counseling to assist him in going forward. That was said. Thank you very much, Mr. Marshall. Arlene Pierre writes, Azari needs some anger management classes. Dude is always mad about something. Well, that's your point, Pierre. I cannot hold it against you. Marshall comes back and says, good evening, everyone. Most unfortunate, passion can be uncontrolled too, especially walking up the field, and that's where he went too far. Yes. Winstead Choice Sport writes, when your captain doesn't have a team plan, that would happen. A bowler and captain know their opponent. Okay, Choice, that is your perspective on things as well. Thanks for your comment as well, my brother. I think, you know, much more can go into the situation where West Indies now, West Indies as a team is that, but we can only wish our boys well as they continue to do what is needed to bring home the goods. Yeah, Patricia Fontaine writes, sports comes with discipline, and I do agree. Okay, folks, that is just what I wanted to touch on in terms of an icebreaker, in terms of giving us a little sporting news as we get into the more meatier matters of things here. All right, the next subject matter, people, that I'm going to get into. I know some people. I know some people during the week when I posted that story on my page about that murder allegedly in Antigua and Barbuda. They had some issues with it, and so I am fully cognizant of the fact that some of what I'm going to say now, some of the same people or other people will not be in agreement with what I have to say. But news is news, and news has to be fresh. There has to be an element of freshness about news. For want of a better term, if news is too still, it is not news anymore. It is something else. News has to have a level of fairness in it, a level of balance in it, and obviously the facts of the matter must come to play. A proper news piece, a proper story must answer at least 5 basic situations or 5 basic questions. The who is involved, the where it took place, the what, whatever happened, the when it took place in terms of time, and most importantly, the why, which some people never ever be able to get into the why, but that is very critical as well. And And so whenever I do something in terms of posting a news piece, I always take into consideration the aforementioned. So I am not one to just hear something and bring it out to you guys now. I always do my background check or checks, confirm, reconfirm, verify before I bring it out. So anything I bring out to you guys in the public domain, once it comes from me on my platform, you can take it that it wasn't something that just popped up and showed up. No. It's something that was heard, it happened, it was researched, it was checked, it was cross-checked, it was verified, and then it was pushed out. But obviously, as I said, sometimes when these things are pushed out, in terms of news, especially where the parties are involved now, it does not go down too well. And so I understand that fully well, me being in that arena for some time. So it's on that backdrop now that some of the things I'm going to say here, I know it's not going to sit down well with a number of people, but it is what it is. Let us get into that story now that emanated from Antigua and Barbuda, where a well-known politician, Mr. Assot Michael, a well-known politician, Mr. Assot Michael, sorry folks, let me just delete something here. All right, Mr. Owen Prosper. I'm going to single you out now. Whatever you may be doing at times on your device, I know you don't want to come live with me, but I usually get a notification from your device saying that Mr. Owen Prosper would want to be live with me. So I'm just asking you, sir, to be very cognizant of that fact. So whatever you may be doing that you should not be doing, especially listening and watching this live program, please refrain. Yeah, it has been happening. At least it happened on my end for at least more than 10 times. It just happened tonight again, and I just had to remove it from the screen. So just a word of caution. And my brother, yes, Mr. Assot Michael, well-known politician in Antigua, no stranger to some of us in the region. A matter of fact, this brother kept making the headlines every time an election was called in Antigua and Barbuda, in that it is said he basically single-handedly used to bring home the political goods, whereby whichever opponent came up against him in his constituency, that is the St. Peter's West, I believe, that constituency, Brother Assot Michael always found a way of being on top of that ticket. Be it as a DLP, not DLP, sorry, ALP candidate, or of late, an independent candidate. But I must tell you as well, it depends on who you speak to in Antigua and Barbuda. So let me be upfront with you. I based on the information that I picked up, just trying to put the pieces together, his murder, some people classified him as an angel. Some people classified him as the devil incarnate. That's the best I can put it. So it depends on who I spoke to, and I guess you will be speaking to. You will get two very diverse set of views about the brother, Mr. Assot Michael. Again, some people referred to him, when I spoke to them, as an angel, and others referred to him as the devil incarnate. That is how I got it on the ground. That is how I'm repeating it, that's how I'm bringing it to you, based on the people that I spoke with. And so for those who viewed him as this angel-like figure, they had a lot of praise for him. In that, whatever they wanted, Mr. Michael was on their side to give. Even in ordinary times, I'm being told, more so Christmas time and the campaign season, it was sort of an all-out avalanche. So at least 100% of these people who were the beneficiaries now of his givings, of his benevolent deeds, they basically classified him as an angel that dropped from the sky. A matter of fact, just doing digging about the life and times of Mr. Assot, I was told by at least 3 people that there was one season, a Christmas season, whatever it is, his constituents wanted: fridge, stove, refrigerators, toasters, washing machines, anything from cash to goods. You go to Mr. Assot Michael, you would have gotten it. And so that was the legacy of this brother in one department. Also too, not the last election, the election prior, in his constituency, it was reported to yours truly that at least in a number of different constituents, in terms of their home, where they lived, not the last one, the one prior, visibly could be seen blocks, building blocks, sand, aggregate, cement, whatever it is, in front of a number of constituents' doors or on their property. That, it is said, came from Mr. Assot Michael giving to his constituents, especially during that campaign season. And so it was no strange thing. He basically poured out goodies on his constituents in order to bring home the political goods. And so if you talk to anybody in Antigua, opposition as well as government side, that will be a common thread running through the mouths of these people. And so as I said, those who were the recipients of that, they classified him as an angel. And obviously in politics, even in life, you will have your detractors, you will have your people who don't see eye to eye with you. So those who were his detractors, those who were his opponents, those who were his quote-unquote foes, they classified him now as the devil, meaning the devil on earth. That he would do whatever needed to be done in order to get where he wanted to go. That's it. And some people despise that very much. And so they were prepared to describe him as that. I must admit that even with the political foes, quote unquote, they all admitted, those who loved him, those who hated him, they all admitted that he was a very, very good orator, a very good public speaker, especially when doing his duties in Parliament. So in terms of his representation for his people and on behalf of his people in Parliament, it was a blessing to listen to this brother speak. He really made the case when he stood in Parliament. And so a lot of people across the aisle, they loved him for that. It is said he was very clinical. He was very surgical. He was very logical. And so when you hear good speakers, you tend to open your ears a little more. Assot Michael was one such person, I've been told. And so when he rose in Parliament to speak, people basically they turned up the volume because they wanted to hear what he had to say in Parliament, because they knew jolly well it was always something that they could look forward to. And so that is one of the legacy of the brother. Like him, don't like him. As we say in Dominica, Haitian me di daibla, meaning hate the dog, but see its teeth is white because it is white, or it was white. So that was brother. He gave a good account of himself in terms of his representation. He didn't leave no stone unturned. A matter of fact, it is said most times he wound up on the floor, his presentation that is. Well, Gaston Brown is the quote-unquote grandfather of politics in Antigua of late. And so there was always this sort of, reaction from Gaston in particular and crew at Mr. Michael, especially when he was not part of the ALP crew anymore. He was once part of them, but he moved away, and trust me, he was a very polarizing figure. Some people, when they come in a room, you must know they are there. And so for Mr. Michael, I'm being told that epitomizes his life. He could not be somewhere and you did not know. So in Parliament, it was more so. I'm also being told he had some outstanding cases as well before certain courts out of Antigua. As to the details of these matters, he's dead now, so we can leave that to rest. Because I want to think that is dead as well in the water. He also had some matters in Antigua as well, I'm being told. But as I said, a very, very controversial, a very, very polarizing figure he was, I'm being told. And I must say that my usual sources that would be ever so open to give me information when I call on them for whatever the reason in terms of the facts, for some reason I found a sort of reluctance this time around from some of these usual sources, which I found to be kind of quite strange. But it's only when it started to come to me from other sources, I put it into context and I understood why some of my quote-unquote usual sources, they were sort of, feeding me with a long spoon this time. But that's all right, I understand that territory. Yeah. For those of you who may not know Assot, I'm going to put a picture of Assot Michael on the screen so you will see. For those of you who, well, this morning that story broke in terms of that 27-year-old young man, as I said, was arrested and will be charged for the murder of Mr. Michael. I'll be putting his picture on the screen as well for you to see. And unfortunately or fortunately, it depends on which fence you're sitting on now, I'm going to post a picture of Assot as well. In terms of respect for him, in terms of respect for his family and the dignity as in death, I have sought to blur out the more crucial part of that photo, but at the end of the day, I always report on the news. And so I will put up a photo as well of Mr. Michael when he faced his last hours and succumbed. And if you know me very well, we will be going through the pictures and be trying to give you at least a much more picturesque view as to what may have happened on that Monday night leading into Tuesday morning where he succumbed. Let's see if we can pull up those pictures. As I pull up those pictures, people, I want to extend my sincere condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of Mr. Assot Michael. I know it is not the best of times, but that is the situation that they are presented with, we are presented with, and death is no easy time. And for a man of that caliber to have died in that manner, it really saddens, but as it is said, we have to learn from each other's pain, from each other's sorrow, and try to get the good out of it to better our situations in life. So to his grieving family, I know he had a son, his relatives at this time, we express our sincere condolences to your brother at this time. All right, folks, let me just read for you the story that broke in Antigua earlier this morning. Yeah, it says here, 27-year-old Golden Grove resident confesses to killing MP Assot Michael. That's the heading. So the 27-year-old, as the story goes, that did confess is this young man here. Where? Okay, whilst that is loading. It says here, state media, the police are finalizing, as the police in Antigua and Barbuda, they are finalizing preparations to charge a 27-year-old Golden Grove resident who reportedly confessed to killing Member of Parliament for St. Peter, Assot Michael. ABS News has learned that the man has showed investigators key evidence. This will form the basis of the charge expected to be laid against him later today. It is not clear at this point whether investigators have ascertained a motive for the fatal stabbing of the MP. It says here, this is a major development within days of the MP's murder, which sent shockwaves across the nation. Michael, who was an independent legislator, was found in a pool of blood in his Dry Hill home on Tuesday. All right? For some reason, this thing is just so slow, man. Okay. I think I got something here. All right. All right, so this is the young man in question. This young man here. This young man, he was charged earlier today for the murder of Mr. Assot. That is this young man, 27-year-old. It is said he was charged. Okay? There was before, people, for those of you who have been following that story, there was before another young man without shirt that the police arrested in connection with the killing of Mr. Michael. But based on credible information coming from the police in Antigua, that young man, after being questioned, was released, and it was determined by the police that he had no association or no connection with the death of the parliamentarian, that is Mr. Assot Michael. So he was released, and this young man, a Golden Grove resident, it is said, his name, I will withhold his name for now because his name was not mentioned in the story. Going by the story, most likely he was charged earlier today and will be made to answer for the death of Mr. Assot Michael. Let's not do this one as yet. Do this one first. So those of you who don't know Mr. Assot Michael, that is Mr. Michael here. Okay? That's the brother right here. I'm being told, based on information, that he originally is from the French country Guadeloupe, but moved to Antigua some years back, and their family lineage, they're wealthy, very, very wealthy people. And to how they manage to come by their wealth, that is to learn if you have a conversation now, but the fact remains that his family is very, very wealthy indeed. And he, Mr. Assot Michael, as I said before, was a very polarizing figure. He lived somewhere in the Dry Hill area in Antigua, in a somewhat remote area. And so it wasn't many neighbors around him. At the time, he lived alone. All right? At the time, he lived alone. I've been told he has one son, but that son was nowhere in the picture in terms of on the night when whatever transpired happened to him and a number of other relatives. Yeah? So that is the face of the slain brother, slain NP, slain angel to some, and slain incarnate himself to others. Okay, so keep that face in mind, people. We are now going to this photo here. Now you see this photo here, people? That photo, basically, it represents a picture of inside the home of Assot Michael. That home, as I told you, it's in sort of a remote area, but I can tell you it was loaded or laden with CCTV footage in terms of cameras. So he had a lot of those around his property. And so, based on what I got, it was not too difficult a task to bring closure, at least for now, to that matter or in that matter, because, as they say, a picture tells 1,000 words, and there were a lot of pictures of whoever entered that property or left that property that night, or even inside of that property. Whoever took that picture, I can reliably say that most likely it was one of the people who first attended to Mr. Michael in that state, in that position. As to who it was, it is still unknown. But that picture was sent in a much more graphic manner. He laying on the floor with his right foot up, his left foot, well, not foot, sorry, his leg, because the foot is the lower part of the leg. So his right leg up, sort of perched against either a door or some wall or whatever it is, and the left leg stretched out. And the report said that he laid basically in a pool of blood. Now the pool of blood, from what I saw, it was more towards his back, so he was lying in his own blood. Now, just to go a little further in terms of describing what I could deduce from the raw footage in terms of that picture, I could visibly see footprints just ahead. So just here, right here, where that is blurred out, just here, footprints were going in that direction. So they left the body going in that direction, footprints. Also, there were another, well, not another set, but there were other footprints right in that general area as well, leading to the body. So to the body, and from the body were footprints, and these footprints, they were basically blood-laden footprints. So whatever happened to Mr. Assot that night or that morning, whoever, they basically, they was inside the house and without shoes, based on what I could confirm. Because the footprints that I saw leading to the body, leading away, moving away from the body, they were real footprints, not shoes prints, footprints. So that tells me that whoever was without shoes. This leg, this right leg, being perched up against a door or wall or whatever had it up, it was resting on it. And he basically laid it right there in his blood. Just my basic understanding of, dealing with these things at a certain level, it would lend me to think that Mr. Assot Michael basically was struggling before he died, before he took his last breath. There was a struggle. And so it was not a situation whereby he got a shot or knocked out and just passed out. No. That leg, right leg, up against whatever it is, that door or whatever that held it up. It tells me that before he took his last breath, he was struggling. Now, based on the picture that I saw, I can also assume that his back, that is now laying flat down on that floor inside his home, his back, whatever it is, whoever that 27-year-old young man is charged with his murder. So allegedly now, whatever it is that this young man, if it is he, once that case goes through, took to puncture the body or the back area of Mr. Assot Michael, it was at least more than one wound, more than one puncture, based on what I deduced from the amount of blood that this brother laid in. Now, all around the body, there were blood spatter all over. So you see, like on the side wall here, all here, where that cursor is right here, that is blood. This is blood. This is blood. This is blood right here. All these little things that you see in there, when I blew them up, visibly, all this, all over there, right there. This is one of the footprints here that whoever walked in his blood and was walking away from his body. All this you see in here, blood spatter. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the way going away from that body into that alley. Blood leading footprints. And note I said it's not shoe prints, it's footprints. Mr. Assot Michael, in that photo, laying in his blood, was without shirt. His head straight up, watching like vertically to his ceiling or whatever was above him. So it was tilt. His head was straight up. So it wasn't tilt to the right nor to the left. It was straight up. His right leg laid against something, rested against something. His left leg laid straight across on the floor. He had, in my estimation, in terms of color of his short pants, what looked to me like a greenish, light green short pants, without shirt, as I said, and that basically was the situation and position that Mr. Michael came to his demise, either Monday night or Tuesday morning. It has been said that it was one of his mates. I'm being told that he had 3 mates. It's one of his mates that came to the home that Tuesday morning and found him in that position and subsequently alerted the police. As to any records of telephone calls being made by him or any other body to any other person, then so far there were none. Now, before we leave that subject matter, as touchy as it may be, Upon reflection, people, I will leave what I'm going to say out for now. Upon reflection, because what I'm going to say, nobody could factually tell me that was facts, although a number of people suggested that, but seeing that nobody could say, Lofty, I was part of it, or I can tell you that as a position of my situation, then I will leave that alone for now. Again, with much due respect to the dead and to the grieving family members at this time. Suffice to say that no one, absolutely no one, whatever it is the situation in life was or is, should be dead in that manner. So let's hope that the police in Antigua bring justice to him and his grieving family at this time. All right, it's 7:30. We have like 45 more minutes because we started at 6:15. And let us dovetail now into our last segment. And that is where our local issues now will be under the microscope for the next 45 minutes. Dominicans, we are all aware, and those of you who are non-Dominicans listening, let me make you aware that today in Dominica, there is what we call, or it is dubbed, the groundbreaking ceremony for an airport in Dominica. Yeah? There is a groundbreaking ceremony for an airport in Dominica. That airport is dubbed an international airport. Especially for those of you that don't know, that airport has been in the making for some time, in the works for some time, where a foreigner, in the name of Mr., it is said on the books, in the name of Mr. Anthony Hayden, better known to us in Dominic as Mr. Abdullah, the man who is in charge, I am saying now, of our treasury by proxy, because he has a lot to do with our CBI program in Dominica. The construction of that airport was handed to him on a platter by the government of Dominica. There was this ceremony, signing ceremony, where this young lady, Missy Henderson, and others in her company signed a contract with this brother for the construction of this, what they call an international airport. So much talk has gone into the construction of that airport. Let me be very clear as well to you, those of you who don't know, there was absolutely no EIA study or studies as it relates to that infrastructure, which some people say, and it is correct, will be for some time the biggest project that will be done in Dominica or has been done in Dominica in terms of the magnitude of it, both in terms of size and capital. And so Mr. Abdullah was handed on a platter the contract to build that airport, on Dominicans' behalf by the government of the league. That is the same Mr. Mohammed Abdullah, it is said, who has a building at Mount Daniel. And that is said on paper by government officials. So I'm not telling you something off my head. If you need verification for what I'm going to say, call Mr. Reginald Ostry, because he was one of the lead people, the lead parliamentarians then, who signed a contract for the sitting Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, to acquire, to occupy a house in Mount Daniel. And let me qualify that house for you. It is not just a house. It is a mansion. Some people call it, and I agree, a palatial mansion, meaning it has the characteristics of being a palace. That is the house that Reginald Ostry and company signed a contract and said it is Mr. Mohammed, better known as Abdullah, who is now the contractor for this international airport. They said, it is the rightful owner of that palatial mansion at Mount Daniel. And so on the account of that, on the record by these politicians, back then, a contract was entered into with Mr. Mohammed for Roosevelt Skerrit to live in Mr. Mohammed's house at a cost of just around 70,000 EC dollars, round off. Per month. Let me repeat, per month. So presently, Roosevelt Skerrit is living in a mansion at Mount Daniel. His wife, his 2 children, and whoever he sees fit to bring there, at a cost of we the people of Dominica, 70,000 EC dollars. I was never good in maths. So for those of you who are US currency people, Roosevelt Skerrit is living in a house that is costing us, the people of Dominica, pretty close to 27,000 US dollars a month. And that 27,000 US dollars a month, it is said it is going in the pockets or in the coffers of Mr. Mohammed, Mr. Abdullah. Now, where it gets sticky, that is the same man that he was given the contract to build that airport on a silver platter without tender. So a man has a house in your country, and not any house, a palatial mansion, a house that has the characteristics now of being a palace, overlooking the Caribbean Sea on the west. And that is the same man, it is said, who, by some magic, got a contract to build an airport in the eastern belt of the country, namely Wesley, without tendering. So no other company, not in Dominica or across the world, that have built airports already had the opportunity to bid on that airport. Because why? The government of the day, headed by Roosevelt, basically handed him that contract on a silver platter, untendered. So now, for those of you who still have a conscience, I want you now to evoke that conscience and let it say something to you. Because anyhow you check it, anyhow you dissect it, you spin it, you roll it, you do whatever with it, something has to be wrong with that. The professionals call it insider trading. The common people, which I relate to, and I want to relate to, because the upper class, the upper echelon people, they know exactly what I'm saying. I need not to explain anything to them. It is the people who are in the trenches. I want to get that message. And they wouldn't understand what is insider trading. They will understand what is bubble. So, here it is. Spin it up, dissect it, roll it, turn it on its head. There was this bubble. Where this man built a house, he said, or it is said, in Mondaniel, where your prime minister is living, and he still got the contract in a very, just wash your foot and come kind of a way to build an airport. Roosevelt, it is said, has land, or did have land. I don't know if he sold it, because this guy, we don't know his business as a public figure. It is said by Marina Shillingford, that woman in Trafalgar, way back when, 2009, 2010, she had loved him so much, she gave him land. So it's not that Roosevelt doesn't have land to build a house of his own. But no, he wants to continue to milk the cow that is Dominica now off its dollars, where the hospital is under pressure. NEP cannot be paid. Civil servants cannot get a salary increase. Your police vehicles are running on ball-head tires like balloons. Yesterday, I saw a GA vehicle, one of these green vehicles they usually carry up and down these prisoners from Stock Farm. Basically, is in need of a number plate. And whoever it is, they had to make shift now by putting a piece of plywood or cardboard or whatever it is, because I was passing and just noticed it. They had to do a makeshift number plate for one of these government-owned vehicles and write in red, GA whatever ever the number was. And that is how crucial it is when we're talking about our business in Dominica. So it is so tight financially, it is so tight economically for the greater set of people. And when you look at the other end of the spectrum, it seems like all is well for some other people, and it's like nothing in the world matters. So to get back to the point, Marina Shillingford said on the record, she gave Roosevelt Skerrit land. So Roosevelt Skerrit is no needy person in terms of land to build a house for himself. She gave him, she said that to us. And that's way back when. So if the land was worth $10,000 then, I am assuming based on the time in terms of it is now worth 30, 40, 50, 60,000. So that should be much more in terms of appreciated value that he could go to the bank and ask for loan to build a house. That's one piece. We know of his property in Viecas now, where he won his seat, of another big mansion when it was in the foundation stages. He told us, for those of you who have memory tool, I will bring you back. He told us he was only building a house, a decent house, that would cost him no more than 400,000 EC dollars. That's what he said to us on the record. And that is back then I'm talking about, not now. And people who are in that field, that study that situation in terms of building and architecture and estimates and evaluation, just name it. They told us, in the foundation of that house, in Viecas, it was running already in the millions when it was in the foundation stages. So it wasn't nothing like this 2x4 I'm in there that cost me 300,000. That's chicken feed for what was in the foundation stages. So that is another arrangement he could have been in and settled in comfortably with his family, his friends, and if I am saying he has concubines, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm just speculating now. We also knew of a brother in Portsmouth closely connected to Roosevelt and the cabal by the name of Mr. Bubbles, preacher by profession / Golden Crabs businessman, who miraculously ended up with cottages in the Savon Pie area, just southwest of Viecas. So again, Roosevelt is not a choice he didn't have. He could easily grab hold of one of these cottages or villas, how they will call them, from Mr. Bubbles to live in. Because at the end of the day, it was said or suggested allegedly, Bubbles could not have come by these villas by catching crabs. And so that is another situation that I want to tell you about possible living arrangements for Roosevelt. The government that he has hoovered over for some time now and wants to stay there by all means necessary. That same government, some of its past ministers, used the accommodation that were afforded them at Montrose. But that is not in Roosevelt's mind. So Montrose is left to rot. That is not in his mind. Before Hurricane Maria, he was renting another property at Mont Daniel. Again, the state's money was being paid for his accommodation. And by the way, whilst I'm on that, I'm going to tell you something now that I never told you before. And it will not be on my part breaking any protocol, because I did not sign any documents with that business to withhold any secret for and on behalf of them. So I'm going to tell it to you now. You remember Roosevelt told you guys, well, not me, because I know better. He told you guys, especially the people in Dominica who are on the lower ebb of life. You remember he told you guys on some campaign or some kind of mischief-making mission that you don't need a fridge to punch out ice and water from it. Go with your plastic butter containers. You remember those words, people? Way before he uttered those words to you, I am in the know of he having bought a refrigerator from a business in Dominica, and it was fully loaded. So that was way before he came out with that kind of a crass, deceptive kind of utterance. So that is to show you the mind of the man. So he wants to have, and he doesn't want you to have. And why I can tell you that as a position of fact is because I was the one who that business place called to attend to a house at Mont Daniel, to go and attend to a customer. Let's leave it at that for now. A customer. Whereby that customer bought a fridge, and the customer complaint was it wasn't chilling. It wasn't coming on. It wasn't working properly. Lo and behold, as part of my job, my duty, I went to the site. And I can tell you, it was that house Roosevelt was renting in Mont Daniel before that palatial mansion. Before 2000 and when Erica passed 17 or 18, bring back my memory. And so when I went to deal with that complaint, I noticed it was a refrigerator that had the line to receive its water, punch out water from the front via that vent, crushed ice, cube ice. And I'm not knocking him for making that complaint, because some of these refrigerators, some of these equipments, as a matter of fact, they are so technologically advanced now. If you are not keeping up or keeping abreast with them, you will be lost in the weeds. And so I'm not knocking him for not being abreast with what he bought. I am knocking him for the very deceptive and misleading statement that he made to Dominicans now about don't worry burdening yourself about having a refrigerator with a water dispenser or crush or block ice dispenser. That is what I'm knocking him on. And by the way, all that refrigerator needed was to be set properly. That's all. So I set it. I told the young lady the maid was in the house, tell Roosevelt scare it when he comes. That is what was needed, and so it is done. Voila. So that night, and subsequent nights and days, he could take his glass, punch it, water come through. Take his glass, punch it, ice comes through. And that was years before. He told you guys, do not burden yourself with that. That is a man of man we're dealing with. But that was on the side. Let's get back to the meat of things now. This airport in Wesley, it is only now that the subcontractors now, which is the Chinese now, CCR5 or whatever they call themselves, they are finding out now, not having done the sufficient studies to ascertain the suitability of the land. It's only now they're finding out that the land is waterlogged. So they have already pumped at least 3 boatloads. And when I tell you boatloads, it is not this fishing boats. 3 full equipped boatloads from China of cement now, raw cement in the soil in Wesley, trying now to stabilize that soil to hold together the foundation of that airport. That is what they are now trying to do. So that is what this whole mad rush of groundbreaking, that is part of it. He will not tell you, but that is the reality. Matter of fact, I've already sought the guidance and advice of some people who are in that field. And they told me basically in a nutshell, that is an environmental disaster / hazard in the making. You cannot pump so much concrete, so much cement, so much of that kind of material in a soil in any one area. And future, down the road, we will not be paying as a people. So if these studies were done, these studies would suggest exactly, you know something? No. That cannot go there, the place is too drenched. If these studies were done and the soil was suitable for it, it would also show. So now they wouldn't have to be spending. Trust me. That airport, it is said, started at 1.3. It went up to 1.6. Sooner rather than later, you will hear another figure. 2 point something billion with a B. And that is why and when you go into something as a madman, as madmen, mad people, and don't do the necessaries. So you come to build an ordinary house and you don't get no engineer, you don't get no contractor, you don't get no soil tester, you just come and you just throw your money in there. You don't do no history of the place, you don't do no geological study, you just come and you just pump your money in there. And when you are there and you have pumped money, you see now you need to pump more money. Because whatever you plan to put, it will just roll off one of these days. That is the level of madness that is happening up in Wesley. So where the water is supposed to be seeping through, naturally through the soil, in terms of percolation, just moving through and so that the structure can sit and breathe properly. It is being like a kakaraba, if you know what that is. If it is put there as is, it will just be bouncing around. So one of them days, you might come and see your terminal here. In another 2 weeks, you might see your terminal drift 3 inches, and it might drift 4 inches, and it's a mess. That is what this brother is in a mad rush, and he is breaking grounds about. But I can tell you, construction, like accounting, they don't lie. Whatever you start, wherever you start going wrong in your foundation, you will see it when you put the last screw or last sheet of galvanizing. Trust me. So I am not perturbed about the madness that is going on in Wesley at all. Time will answer to that situation. And so I rest on that. So whatever is going on in Wesley now, as they term to be groundbreaking, it will be in the not so distant future earth shattering. And like always, the world will continue to laugh at us. But for some reason, he is just mad, very mad, to make this his landmark, his legacy. Continue, Roosevelt. Now, let's move rapid. We have 15 more minutes to go. You saw the advertisement whereby the same Roosevelt has sought the assistance now of 2 other prime ministers. And my friend in Grenada, that's where I come to you now. Ms. Newman, listen closely. He has sought out the 2 prime ministers in our region, namely from Grenada, that is Mr. Mitchell, Deacon Mitchell, and one in St. Lucia, Mr. Philip J. Pierre. He has sought their company into what he said is a delegate conference come tomorrow. I made a few calls, both St. Lucia and Grenada. And my friend Newman, I need no answers from you. Did your Prime Minister, that is Mr. Deacon Mitchell, made any announcement to you guys as to where he was going on and the type of activity, secondly, that he was going to be part of or participate in Dominica? These are the 2 questions on the table. And for any of you St. Lucians now, on the live feed, I ask of you the same. Did Mr. Philip Pierre give you guys any heads up as to his trip to Dominica, what he was going to do or participate in Dominica, and the reasons for it? Because on a flyer in Dominica that I saw circulating online and on telephone poles, it is a picture of Roosevelt, J. Pierre, and Deacon, marked hope. Hope for what? Hope in what? So I am saying no. I am saying no. That is Loftus Jira saying no. These 2 prime ministers, they have to know, they must know, they ought to have known that we in Dominica, we have been on this struggle for some time now, where the stealing of elections is concerned. In Grenada, there was this arrangement that was made and the emergence of Deacon Mitchell. Because it was said, if Mitchell, however good or bad he was corrupt, or this and that, and the whole 9 yards. If you talk to a St. Lucian as well, you will hear a common thread as well. And so the question now that must be on the table, is it that Roosevelt's Carrick has sought the assistance of Deacon Mitchell and Philip J. Pierre as Labour Party ministers, prime ministers at that in their jurisdictions, to come in Dominica and mingle and meddle or interfere with our own local politics in Dominica? That is the question on the table. And so if these brothers consciously know that is what they're coming to do, I say shame times 10 on you guys. Because the same thing that you guys want for your country in terms of a freer and fairer process, it is said, or your citizens are quote unquote going through or benefiting from, I hope that is not anti what is it that you're going to shut down or help solidify in Dominica. I hope not. And so when I sought out my people in St. Lucia, and I asked them to search the web, search the government's website, search the press releases, search the press attaché, just ask for me, do you know the whereabouts of your Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre for this weekend and his reason or reasons for out of the country? I am waiting for an answer in that department still. None of them could say for certain there was this announcement, there was this briefing, there was this. Nobody. I also made some calls in Grenada as well. And nobody there could verify this. And so if it is what we are seeing unfolding before our eyes, that the Labour parties now in the region, as corrupt as they are, some of them, are now prepared to consolidate their efforts to remain on the backs of the people now of the region, I say, not woe be unto them, but woe be unto us. And it is up to us to push back, reject that with all our might. Do you guys remember for the 2014 election it was? The Labour Party had a big contingency brought over to Antigua, and the Antiguan Labour Party contingency welcomed them, and they had meetings and cross-border politicking and campaigning was taking place. Folks, we need to open our eyes. We need to open those eyes to understand, and not those eyes, the mind's eye, to understand now what we are witnessing happening in real time. So if a regime so corrupt as what we have in Dominica, two quote-unquote reasonable prime minister would come here and contaminate themselves, we are in serious problem in this country. Because it was not just two guest speakers, it was two prime ministers that he invited. Do you know the weight of a prime minister and his office coming to another country to impose whatever that is dictated to him by the host prime minister? So when they say birds of a feather flock together, it is not far-fetched. And that is why, to broaden it now, we can understand now why our judiciary now, that's supposed to be separate and apart from government. They are so in bed with government that laws are being interpreted now in a willy-nilly fashion. We now can understand. So if the prime ministers can fall prey to that kind of deception, what about the judges? What about the magistrates? What about the people who are supposed to stay away from that local interference in our politics? So I am saying that Mr. Philip Japierre and Deacon Mitchell, as a Dominican now, if that is their mission and function, to interfere in our local politics, we should make them know that straight up. There should be no beating around the bush with that. And we should not make them feel welcome. They should not be made to feel welcome in Dominica. We should call them out for who they are. If that is their mission, to come and undermine what we are trying to get rooted in Dominica in terms of better structures for our country. As we speak, I'm being told there's this acting chief officer at the electoral office. The same woman that I told you guys 3 weeks ago, that any and everywhere she goes, she sings the song of labor. She is now, I'm being told, acting as chief elections officer. I am asking, is that to facilitate another rigged, snap, bogus, deceptive election on the people back in Dominica? Was she placed there as acting, or as an actor, to do the bidding of this rogue regime? The young lady is from Canefield primarily. I am from Canefield. I know her very well. I know her lineage very well. And everywhere, this lady goes, it is said, if she spits red. And that is the caliber, that is the type, that is the quality of individual, a laborite, a known laborite that you want to put as chief elections officer to do your bidding. Dominicans, I think we have taken enough. And so I am convinced, I am convinced, and that makes my heart glad, that especially the young people who they think they are so dormant and they are not listening, they are taking note. And God forbid, everything has been set in stone, as it were, already, would come true by the calling of another election 2 years into the riding out of a heist. Because 19 was a heist, an electoral heist, a political heist. 22 was a bigger heist. In 24 again, Roosevelt, try it. Try it. Dominicans know jolly well what to do and what needs to be done. And so I need not tell anybody. I need not tell anybody what to do. It is already written and it is already done. So you go ahead and push Dominicans down a road where the already saddled people can take no more. And one of the reggae songs that said, you will see their cup will be running over. That is the Dominica you don't want to see. We don't want to see. But that is where, that is the road that this, whatever passes for government is on. Facilitated by other prime ministers in the region. And so now we understand now why it is so easy, so facile for RSS to come here and help hijack elections with the facilitation of other quote-unquote honorable men like J. Pierre, Deacon, and others. The picture is starting to make clearer. And so the spirits that have run in our veins for some time, as Negma ones, as men in the hills who fought against injustice, who fought against being imprisoned physically and mentally, that spirit is still there. And it is just a matter of tapping into it, and it will be, it shall be unleashed. And so Roosevelt, if you are a man, I'm telling you tonight, the 9th of November, call another snap election in Dominica, facilitated by your men in the region. If you're worth your salt, call another election. Call another election without things put in place and you already propped up your actors to help you rig it. Call it. I am comforted. There's no fear in my mind that Dominica people will stand against you and your misgivings as a very deceptive politician. Try it. Once bitten, twice shy. The people that I know in Dominica, the people who you think are in support of you. Folks, it is 1 minute past the time. I'm winding up. The people who you think are in support of you, the majority of them, they are not. And so they are saying, under their breaths, we don't mind labor, but Roosevelt have to go. We have had enough of Roosevelt. That's what they're saying. So if you're not hearing it, I'm telling it to you. They tell me to tell it to you. Because when they tell me, they know it will reach you. Dominicans, thank you very much. Please, please remain vigilant. Your country deserves you now. Your country needs you ever more than now. Now is the time, Dominicans. It cannot be. It cannot be. We are the only laughing stock in the region that a man who sits in the prime minister chair can be made to steal elections in big, broad daylight like that, over and over and over again without the wrath of the people. The people must respond, and they are going to respond. We are going to respond. You have had enough. Thank you very much, those of you who are here still, for your eyes and ears. It is what it is. Tomorrow on the Civic Vibes program, if the good Lord above has us driven, we are having a conversation, a health-conscious conversation. We'll be moving away from the politics, quote unquote. We'll be having a health-conscious conversation where Mr. Carlton Lando will come in to speak to us with a dreaded disease that has enveloped us for some time in Dominica, none other than diabetes. So he'll be coming to give us a sort of synopsis as to where the Dominican public is at now, where this dreaded sickness is concerned, diabetes. And the second segment, Brother Cyril Brown, yes, some of you may not know that name at all, but the second name you will know, Indigenous Bushman. He will do good the second hour to talk about what Carlton will be bringing us the raw data on, and how we can deal with that disease, and also what we can do in terms of lifestyle, eating habits, the herbs, and the full 9 yards. So that's a very interesting conversation tomorrow, especially if you are diabetic or you know someone suffering from diabetes. Dominicans, thank you very much for your eyes and ears each and every time. Jalov, each and every one of all you, pleasant good night. Let's just play one song, and that song is my brother from Antigua, and then we'll be out of here when that is done. Yeah, let's see if we can get this brother from Antigua. He sang that song sometime back. Where is it now? Short shoot. Yeah. Load, and then we'll be out of here in just a bit. Yeah, where's this truck? Where's this truck? Where's this truck? We gotta go. I think I gotta play that from another device because this computer is just so slow tonight.